Hi and welcome to the Faxon blog and podcast. Hi, and welcome to episode 58 of the Faxon blog and podcast. We're excited today to have another special guest with us. Emily, if you wouldn't mind doing the honors of introducing who's at the table with us today.
I love introducing our guests. It makes me so happy. Today, we actually have our first in-person guest in a while.
Probably
it's been
over a month. Yeah.
Over a month. So we have Baret Fawbush here today. You might know him from his Instagram handle, TruExodus. He has an awesome Instagram where he shows some of his instructional videos with mostly pistol, but really just everything. And he's an awesome educational guide in this industry, but also he's got some awesome build projects going on, and we're excited to help him out with those today. So welcome, Baret.
Thank you so much. To the Faxon Firearms family, just being able to be welcomed in here and be able to be treated well and be able to have some just time to spend with you guys, the space to share with you guys. It's just been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
It's totally our pleasure too. I know some folks who maybe haven't followed you already, Baret, but have probably seen you if they follow us because you were out at the primary arms range day.
That's where we met. Yeah.
And so
all those days ago.
All those days ago.
And,
back in July.
And so you got to shoot some of the pistol comps and everything before they came out earlier in September.
You got to shoot really everything from our catalog, and you got to shoot one of our Ion ultralights.
I didn't shoot any AR pistols. So any pistol calibers that you had. So like your 9mm, I don't think I shot that. I shot your Glock series and your Ion.
Very good.
Awesome.
Very
good.
Which
is something you've just built,
right?
Yeah,
we just built out the Ion, 4.95 pounds, incredibly light.
Awesome.
I kind of see my 8-year-old kind of getting behind that, but at the same time, the 5.56 platform is a great self-defense platform. And to kind of imagine some just ladies, under 5 foot, under 100 pounds, older ladies, just anything, anyone that has that kind of build or that kind of like, just not a lot of strength to them to hold up something for 5 minutes. You can hold up that gun for 15 minutes, it's easy.
Yeah. And also we found some folks in the competition realm who enjoy it too. I mean, if you're doing tactical games type stuff or whatever, even if you hook, line and sinker, don't get a full Ion, but you get pieces from it, pencil barrel, carbon fiber handguard, lightweight bullet carrier group, that sort of thing. It's been definitely been a hot ticket for that. But, Baret, like we were talking a little bit off camera earlier, at Faxon, we believe in the fellowship of firearms. We believe that, there are memories that are made with it. There are bonds that are, strengthened, when you're out at the range or hunting or doing whatever it is you do in the sport. So for those folks who maybe, don't know you yet, if you wouldn't mind just giving them a little bit of background on kind of how you got started in the industry and where you are today.
Sure. Well, I think it all started when I was in Bible college here in Cincinnati. I went to Cincinnati Bible College, and it was 2005, moving into 2006, that there was a girl on our campus who, her and her boyfriend were held up at gunpoint at the Purple People Bridge. And unfortunately, he was tied to the bridge and she was taken and she was raped. And it was just an awful, horrible thing for our little tiny campus at that particular time. And but by the grace of God, she was actually dropped back off on campus and they caught the guy later. But that really kind of was the tipping point for me as to really ask the question, like, well, if I'm supposed to be the husband and the protector and the provider that God has called me to be, I should know how to use a firearm. At that particular time, I was 140 pounds, 6 foot, 140 pounds, a child could whip up on me. And so I was just like, that makes a lot of sense. And I grew up as a hunter and as an angler. So firearms and fishing rods and bows, that was nothing new for me. But the idea of the firearm being a tool for self-defense, never saw it from that paradigm. One of my best friends, still my best friend to this day, Dr. Tom, he invited me to go get my concealed carry permit for the first time. So I had to go out and buy a gun. I bought a SIG 226 and went and learned. And after I took my first class and I was in Bible college, I got a part-time job just so I could pay for ammo and training and just do that as much as I can. And Tom and I shot for about 3 times a week. And it just grew from taking everybody's classes in the Cincinnati area and the kind of the northern Kentucky area into, just teaching my friends about gun safety. Because if you have a firearm, people are going to naturally gravitate towards you as far as their instructor. It's like, hey, take me out to the range this weekend. And they may not be qualified at all to show anybody, but at least because they have some knowledge that they do. And so that's really what it came down for me. I had a lot of friends that were just like, hey, teach me about this. And so I was kind of showing them the 4 or 5 rules of safety, all those different types of things, and grew into my knowledge of it and loved the teaching aspect of helping somebody who's very, very afraid, very nervous, very kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, and allowing somebody to have their confidence grow and their proficiency grow with something like a firearm. It was very rewarding for me early on. So, fast forward, I got a bachelor's and I got a master's from Cincinnati Christian University. And I went out to, my church hired me in Poseville, Indiana. It's a little church called Old Union Christian Church. In fact, I just preached my last sermon there after 11 years of being there. In 204 years, I had the longest tenure of the ministers that have gone through that church. So I'm really blessed and really grateful to God for the opportunity to be in that small church. And I was teaching firearms from 2010 to about 2012, just kind of gun safety, family kind of things. And in 2012, my church let me build a berm on church property.
That's a cool church.
So that we could host Zombie Day in 2012. I posted up 10 flyers in 10 different gun stores for Zombie Day, and we had 326 shooters from 8 different states come and stand in line for 2 hours as they had RSOs that would take them through this course of fire of these latex and foam zombies that were just incredibly well done. And that event, after that, I asked the church, can I keep the berm up? And they saw the ministry potential. They saw how it served the community as far as just scouts and archery clubs and just all the different things that we could do. So they let me hold it up there. And still taking classes, still growing in not only my knowledge, but also teaching people. And I started teaching people fundamentals. But really at the end of 2014, I started getting an Instagram. And something that people don't know about where I kind of lived at and started the Instagram was that we have a 1.5 meg internet connection where I live at. And so the only platform that would support any type of uploading was Instagram. Yeah. So I never intended to get big on social media, never intended for any of those things. And it just so happened that in April of 2015, I had 1,000 Instagram followers. And my wife and I were just jumping up and down in the kitchen. We just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And then in July of 2015, so April, I had 1,000 Instagram followers. And then in July of 2015, I had 25,000 Instagram followers. And I was flying back from Honduras after going to a missions trip. I was teaching some pastors down there, and I was flying back, and I remember hitting that 25,000 mark, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's just incredible. Yeah. And believe it or not, the Holy Spirit spoke in my heart, and it was very clear. He said, I don't want you to spend any more money on guns and ammo. And I was just kind of like, I just got 25,000 Instagram followers in that short amount of time. Like, are you serious? And he didn't really respond back. And so I just kind of sat on that for a couple of days. And I remember like day 2 or day 3, I really confirmed it. I really did confirm it in my heart of hearts. And I said, okay, God, I'm not going to spend any more money on guns and ammo. And the next day I got my first ammo sponsor that called me. And the next week after that, I had my first pistol sponsor that called me. And then our father reminded me that these are all my resources. These are my people. And, I will get you what you can manage in its proper time. And so I think it's during that time, I actually had a viral video of me shooting some bottle rockets at myself, which weren't really bottle rockets. They were like the Saturn missiles. They're the ones where the missiles are like that big and they shoot out. Yeah. Well, I took that, and after coming out of a lot of simunition classes and things like that, I realized that people shooting at you provide a lot of stress in which you're now hyper-focused and you're in the red, so to speak. And that's where when you put your camera on you, you can see all the mistakes that you're making and things like that. So I posted that video, and I just thought it was cute and fun, but that really blew up. And it blew up in such a way, I can't remember how many views it got, but if it didn't get 500 million views within the first, I think it was like 6 months, I mean, it went all over. I mean, I saw some things on Facebook where it had 100 million views, and I saw things on other things where it had 150 million views. I mean, it was really popping off. And I had people who were messaging me and texting me and calling me and saying things like you're in the industry and you're making a lot of waves in the industry now. And I'm like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like, in the firearms industry, like people know you now. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? And so I realized that I was upsetting a lot of people with things like, well, that's not how you should train. And you're not setting a good example, without realizing that I was an example to begin with. And it took me a while to really come into the understanding that, oh, I have a large real estate of the firearms industry, not only for the individual direct consumer, but also the influencers and the companies that follow me and the CEOs that follow me, that you really you have to set a good example. And so that was really kind of that first start into it. So I've always been kind of, in the firearms industry, we always say that safety is priority. And so that's where I've always placed my focus. I've had unsafe moments as a firearms handler and firearms instructor. I've learned from those things and just grown into fundamentals and realized, I wasn't a military guy, wasn't a law enforcement guy, was trying to learn concealment from people who just had military and law enforcement backgrounds that didn't seem, from an educator standpoint. And from an educator standpoint, when I hear another educator talk or a public speaker talk, I hear what you're saying, but I also hear what you're not saying. I hear what you're saying, but also know the depth and the reservoir of the knowledge in which you're speaking from as well. Like, I have a gauge for that. And I was listening to these military and law enforcement guys just going, I don't think that this is where you excel at. And so I started to grow and develop my own process of shooting from concealment, because nobody was really showing me that ABC 1, 2, 3. I was getting lots of different things from lots of different people, but nothing that was really consistent until I said, you know what, it's not about performance that gets you don't focus on performance to get you to performance. You focus on process to get you to performance. And so I was focusing on that process of drawing from concealment, really just kind of put myself to that, started teaching people, taught, 2,500, 3,000 students in a course of almost less than 2 years. From 2015 to 2017, I was going, okay, so people are learning, people are growing, and I feel like I found my little spot. And everybody else in the industry was happy that I found my spot too, because I guess this industry is a whole bunch of egos that feel like, well, he's going to take all my students. And I had a pastor friend to me tell me a long time ago, he said, Baret, if everybody in Poseville wanted to go to church on the same Sunday, we wouldn't have enough seats for them all. And he's talking about all of the churches combined. And in the same way, the industry is just like that. And, there's firearms instructors out there, and we don't have enough firearms instructors to teach everybody. And so that's something I learned about the industry. I learned that it's very, people are just very protective of their knowledge, the knowledge that they have that they've taken from other people and then regurgitated or rebranded as their own and things like that. But at the same time, I guess that's kind of the long or the short of it. I hope that's great. Is a good one.
No,
that's perfect.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think that last little metaphor there of, if everybody in Poseyville came to church on the same day, I mean, this is something that, again, a topic that gets brought up pretty regularly on the show, but within the last year or so, with all the new gun owners, in the States, and all these people that, if you look at kind of pre-COVID studies of just about how people leaned on firearms ownership, there's a big swath of people that were adamantly for, adamantly against, but really most of the population was in this weird gray area where either they didn't have an opinion or they didn't have a problem with owning a gun. They just happened to not own one. And then I think we've seen that data kind of flesh out in the last, 18 months to 2 years now, because the felt need or whatever, because just like you said, when you're at college and that happened to your friends, all of a sudden it perks something up in you that goes,
you're starting to ask some serious questions that, whereas before they weren't relevant or they weren't prevalent in my life as far as walking around carrying these questions around. But now when you introduce 2020 into people's wheelhouses, when you introduce, just this civil unrest and how quickly things can shift. And I think that people realize how quickly things can shift. At the end of the day, you are You're responsible for protecting yourself and protecting the people that are yours to protect. Nobody else is responsible for your safety. Police officers not responsible for your safety. Government's not responsible for your safety. You're responsible for your safety and the safety of your loved ones.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what it ended up being, and this, last kind of run of culture is just the felt need was there. Those fears, or maybe even fears that they didn't know exist, materialized. And you do start seeing, we launched this show on Valentine's Day of 2020. So we got maybe 2 shows in before it started to really ramp up, and we're getting calls right before we're about to film. And Evan, one of our sales guys, he's getting calls from shops like, we need everything you have. Basically, whatever you have, we're going to take it.
Yeah. And, kind of going back to our analogy about if everybody went to church on the same Sunday, we wouldn't have enough pews for them all. In that same way, we just, we added 10 to 12 million new gun owners over the past 2 years. And then, everyone's back, or everyone's sold out. Yeah. 2.5 years, two and a half years of production of what they've already done. Everything from SIG to Walther to Daniel Defense. people are ammo companies. Everyone's selling out of everything. So it's not even just, and we need to remind ourselves that it's not just the new time buyer too. It's also the people that are out there buying parts and everything like that. And we don't have enough product to put in the hands of Americans. And after we're done with that, we're not having enough product put in the hands of everybody else in the world, and so.
Well, and then, like you were saying, on even just the training side, where people they just go, hey, I have this one buddy who's a gun owner. And so you start going to them as the bastion of knowledge. And,
oh my gosh, yes. I know as that person. Yeah.
I think we all had that person where we had to tap into somebody and then learn as much as we could and then go from there.
Yeah, because I think what's interesting about that is, we're fortunate enough to have, dealers all across the country, but we do have some here close to home that we're able to talk to, and some of these places that also are ranges and training facilities that they had the COVID restrictions on them for how many people they could even have in a building, and they're open and they're closed and they're open and they're closed. But then because of the influx of new gun owners, it was great to see that people were signing up for the classes, but then that was just the other, glass that spilled over. It was like, we're booked up. Like if you're coming in for this class, if it's a concealed carry class or basic pistol, we're booked for months and months, and trying to get those things done. But I think during that time, at least to me, because I feel like there's a lot of egos in the industry and things, and there was talk at the beginning of this gun run in 2020 where people, were all over Instagram and stuff saying, all these new gun buyers are going to be in a pawn shop in 6 months and all that. Frankly, I don't think we've seen that, number one. And number two, I was really watching and going, how are we inviting these new people in?
And I think that's the nail on the head. How do we? And again, let's look at those statistics. Half of those 10 to 12 million new gun owners are Black. Half of them are women. And so it's like, okay, so how do we, and that's the thing about the Second Amendment community. That's the whole thing about the firearms community. We're not racist. We love you. We love you so much that we want you to be able to defend your life and the life of your family with a firearm. And we believe that your life, no matter if you're Black, white, Asian, homosexual, it doesn't matter what it is that you are. We believe that your life is inherently valuable. And so we want you to train with a firearm. That's the whole point of what we do. So how do we invite people, and how do we kind of just smile at people as they come in the door and say, you are absolutely welcome here? I don't know of another community other than the Church of Christ that does a better job of welcoming and being kind and open-hearted towards people, especially of different, just people that are not like them, to get them the knowledge that they need.
Yeah. Well,
also it's cool you're combining. Your channel kind of combines, both of those facets. And I think that's what you said earlier about being an example. I think that's something we don't hear a lot of people in the industry talk about. And Dustin and I kind of talk about it from a marketing standpoint. We want to be a good example for a firearms brand, for a firearms, manufacturer. Just like you want to be a good example, not only as an educator, but just as a person, as a person that has this big following. And I think that that's something a lot of people lose sight of, especially in this industry. So like you said, being that example and welcoming these people in, that's something I know we work hard to do, and you as well.
And one of the things that people have spoken about me is just that I don't have that. I like the tag, I'm just your friendly firearms pastor. And just like you're Mr. Roger of guns. And if ever I can get to that point, I think that I don't know who's fighting me for that right now. But
you're a very unique position.
I can get there, that'd be great. But I don't have a military background. I don't have a law enforcement background. And I show and I demonstrate the skill set that people watch and they're like, well, wait a minute, you're not a military guy, you're not a law enforcement guy, but yet here I am training them. It's like, well, it's just a reminder that, you can grow in anything that you want to do. I mean, pick something you want to do. And it just requires discipline and a little hard work and learning from people and continue opening up your skill set to grow and learn. And so I like how the TruExodus platform is a bridge between people who are just not gun owners or the introductory level into the rest of the industry. And I've seen it. I'm really a funnel in which people come into. It's their gate in which they come in, and then they go their different routes, their different instructors. And I don't mean to toot my horn. I'm just saying, you find me another firearms instructor that promotes instructors like I do. It's because I believe that there's a lot of people out there who have just different skill sets that have different, like if I want to go learn from, if I want to go learn close quarter combatives in a vehicle, I'm going to go to Craig Douglas over at Chivworks. If I want to learn, vehicle CQB and shooting it around vehicles, I'm going to go to William Petty with, or whomever I want to learn from. There's all those different niches, and we have to find what those are. Mine just happens to be drawing from concealment and applying the fundamentals.
It's like you said, there's a lot of egos in this community, and I think it's important to put those aside and just give people like the best information and give people the best avenue, especially with all these new gun owners,
It's difficult for those people to do that. And I think and I have an ego too. It's to what varying degree do we have it? I think what's difficult is that people have this mindset of live or die, and we're not ordering a pizza. We're talking about defending our life and defending the people around us with a firearm, where there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and every bullet that comes out of your gun has a lawyer attached to it. And so there's a lot, like I said, what we're talking about, you'll hear people say, they'll pull the appeal to authority of, oh, what you're showing people will get somebody killed one day, and it's like, there's that aspect of it, but those people are very serious and they take it very seriously too. And I think that's to be respected, but at the same time, unfortunately, there's just a lot of ego, and it keeps them from learning. It keeps them from really growing, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, not everyone knows everything. I always tell people that too. Like, no matter how long I've been in this industry, like I'm never done learning.
Absolutely,
I'm never done. I'm never. The day I say I know everything, like I can't do this anymore. Because and I'm never going to be able to say that. I don't want to ever be able to say that.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you said, learning to draw from concealment versus shooting around cars and with vehicles involved. It's just these are all different styles of shooting. So,
what's interesting to me, Baret, is that even though it's not the same exact path, I too used to work in vocational ministry.
Very good.
I was a worship director for about 8 years.
Very good.
And
I've done worship ministry for 20 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I did it vocationally for about 8 years, and then I knew I liked you for a reason. But what I think's interesting, an interesting parallel to it, to the firearms community, and then just the overall church community is when people are new and they come in, they're coming in with preconceived notions
of what the community is like.
It can be scary. Either one. It can be scary.
Either one, like you don't know, what you're getting into, or somebody had a good story or a bad story about their time in either of those communities. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing too. And on even a more macro level, we were talking a little earlier today while you guys are getting set up for your build, just how much, we do get squashed on social. And so things, kind of the bad things or the blemishes on the industry seem to get brought to the forelight, and then
and they need,
everything
and
that's
they need,
positive.
and I want to say real fast that they need to be.
Sure.
And there are some blemishes that are on the community, and one of those is that your child is more likely to shoot themselves or shoot somebody else than you are to use your firearm in self-defense.
Yeah.
So, part of our job as parents and as educators is to be able to educate the community or the family unit as a whole as far as what's negligence and communicating these things to your children and how do you go about those things and being able to memorize the 4 firearms rules of safety. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old right now, but every single time we pick up a gun, and I mean every single time we pick up a gun, they're filling in the blank. I'm asking them. We treat every gun like it's loaded. We don't point the barrel at anything. We don't intend to destroy, kill, or buy. We don't place our finger on the trigger until we're ready to make a decision to fire. We're always sure of our target, its foreground, its background. So we're always educating. But parents, if they don't know what to educate, or the family unit doesn't know, then negligence becomes one of those issues. And so I really think that part of what we do to be that welcoming is to allow, again, those easy segues, those easy bridges of education, those conversations that take place, podcasts like this, where people can listen and go, oh yeah, that's right. I should take my firearm and I should either lock it up or I should have it on my person, because even if you don't think it's locked up, kids can still get a hold of just about anything. And so, those are conversations I really feel like we should have. So I have no problem talking about the blemishes, because that's really what we need to be reducing. We don't.
Sure. And I mean more of the blemishes as far as the stereotypes of gun ownership, like what type of person is it, that owns a gun, and
which, as we've seen, that stereotype doesn't exist anymore.
Like you're saying, of those new gun owners, half black, half of those are women. I mean, it's the stereotypes that I think could kind of get us in trouble. And then a lot of other bigger names catch a lot of headlines, so whenever something is going on with the NRA, or they bankrupt, or they whatever, and it's like, oh gosh. And so like, it's all kind of one big pile. But the thing that, I've seen about this community, and it was very similar to the church community, was once you get in, and you have a welcoming experience, and you make yourself open to it. You know what I mean? Like I felt like in church life, like if you were going to come in and just wait for people to upset and disappoint you, that would be a lot of what you get. That's going to be exactly what you get. But if you're going in there really looking for relationship, really looking for life change, really looking to
it's those people who
things.
Understand like what's at stake.
Yeah.
And the people who want to learn with a firearm understand that their life is at stake. And the people who want to go to the church and learn from Christ understand that their soul and their life is at stake as well. And so when a person has that priority in mind, they're just willing to either humble themselves and open up themselves and say, I don't know anything about this. Can you help me? And it is a very humbling thing to have to kind of, show your butt to somebody and say, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me?
Yeah.
And of course, I think that attitude is just, you're able to come into the industry a lot easier, and you're going to be able to learn a lot more. But we have a really tolerant people. Yeah. I really feel like as a whole, we're very tolerant, we're very loving, and we're very caring. Yeah.
Well, one thing I do want to ask you about, since you're wearing the shirt, if you don't mind, would you mind telling folks a little bit about TruBuilder and what you're working on there? So
TruBuilder is kind of my brainchild. TruBuilder is going to be, it's not up and running yet, but it's going to be a subscription-based website, and it's going to offer gun assembly, gun disassembly content, but primarily it's going to offer premium build content. So just premium builds that we build out on camera. We have about 150 different manufacturers, service providers, and retailers, online retailers, Cerakote guys, just anybody who does work upon firearms, we have them on board. And what we're going to be doing is building out a series of our guns, pistols, rifles, shotguns, H&K roller block, shotgun builds, precision rifle builds, just you name it. We just want to build it out. And the goal is to be able to build out these things on camera, not only to provide the educational content, but also to provide a build list with direct links for the people who provided those products, discounts associated with those links. And then we're going to give away every build that we build out on camera. So when you see a build out on camera, that's going to be given automatically right back to our subscribers. And then what's great about TruBuilder is that every 500 subscribers secures a water well project for an impoverished community somewhere else in the world every year. So if we have 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, we're going to build out 10 wells for that year. And the next year, if we have, 10,000 subscribers, we're going to be building out 20 wells. And so the goal is to take something that we all love, which is firearms, and build out and to learn and to continue to grow in that element, but also to be able to do something that preserves life on a very fundamental level. And that's what we're about in the Second Amendment community. We're about preservation of life. And we want life to continue on. We think it's so important that we would defend it by taking life. How much easier is it to, put together a water well project for an impoverished community? And people don't realize that, 20% of their subscription costs that they subscribe to TruBuilder is automatically going to go to those projects. And so you're automatically getting into the benevolence aspect of it. And we're doing some really cool things. And so for example, we did 2 wells so far. We've already done the well building aspect of it. And it's just been great to see the companies that get behind it. Faxon is actually one of those companies that is generously donated towards our Uganda project. So we have a Uganda water well project that we are doing in December of 2021. And so we're going to go out there and do that. But it's, opportunities like this that make things like that happen. And I'm just very grateful and very thankful for those things. But, wells can cost anywhere between $3,000. We did a couple of them in Brazil for $3,000. We did one in Honduras for $7,600. We've got one in Uganda for $7,500. We've got certain wells in particular parts of Africa that cost anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000. It's all about like how much effort does it take to have to hump this equipment over their mountain, or is there electricity involved, or all of those different factors come into it. And so that was kind of the idea. And of course, that's just the start of TruBuilder. We're looking to do sustainable food resource technologies. We're looking to do orphanage building. We're looking to combat human trafficking with some interesting elements that are surrounding that, and also like the Word of God ministries and supporting missionaries. TruBuilder and water well projects is going to be the kind of the thumb of the whole hand, but that's going to unleash over the next 20 years is the goal.
And we're excited to be on board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we met in Texas, you told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, Faxon will be so excited to get on board with that." Especially since you said you wanted to come build some guns with us.
Absolutely. I wanted to point out that just learning from Mark today, I've built out so many different AR-15s and so many different guns and just pieced them together so many different times. But here's a man who's done it, 5,000-6,000 times over the past 2 years. And he's just showing me these like little details of, well, this is how I do it. And I'm just, my mind is just blown because I'm sitting there going like, there's only so many ways to do this, but you have found these very, very small ways that make this very efficient. So I love learning new things in regards to that.
Earlier, you're never done learning.
You're never
this
done
industry.
learning. As soon as you think you're done learning, you're just you're
toast.
You're
lying to yourself. You're lying.
And for those of you who we'll throw some footage up. We got quite a bit of footage on good old boy Marco.
Definitely, Mark is our lead armor, and he is awesome. He builds
and if you haven't seen his face a lot, you've seen his forearms a lot.
All of our instructional videos, for the most part, are Mark. But he is one of 2 people here that builds all of our firearms. Yeah. So, he's got a lot of experience with it. I know you guys think that we're not building any firearms right now, but I promise Mark is very busy.
No, and that's the other thing too. The depth of knowledge, the reservoir that I was speaking of earlier, he most certainly has that. It is very easy for him to communicate, very efficient, and very efficient with his movements and everything that he was piecing together and helping me piece together. I was just very, very impressed, very, very happy with Mark.
Very good. Very good. Well, Baret, if people want to find out more about you and some of the work you're doing and maybe places they could look so they could be on the front end of some of this TruBuilder communication, where could they find you?
Well, you can always find me at TruExodus, TruExodus, EXODUS. And, you're going to Google me that way. You're going to find me pretty much anywhere you search me, whether good or bad. I don't know what you're going to find, but whatever it happens to be. But then you can follow me at TRU_builder on Instagram. In fact, if you go to just TruBuilder, this guy just likes feet. For whatever reason, it's a foot page. Oh, no. I messaged a guy and I said, "Hey, would you like $5,000 for your Instagram name?" And he said no. So
So
Wow.
And then he tried to tell me.
dedicated.
Then he tried to tell me, he's like, "Well, this is the name of my construction company." And I'm like, "Man, but your page is about feet, man."
I thought you were a podiatrist.
Yeah,
I'm hoping you
no,
were a
he's not a
podiatrist.
photographer. I don't think he is.
I'm
I
hoping.
don't think he is. But absolutely at TRU_builder, and would love to have people follow for that. But like I said, it's a brainchild looking to launch before the end of the year. But who knows, where we're going to be at with all of that. But it'll come when it comes, and I'm not looking to rush anything. Looking to be as patient and as productive with that as possible.
Understood.
Well, we're excited.
And we'll definitely be sharing out when you guys get through your build and everything. Let people know when it's live,
Absolutely.
and they could go check that out on TruBuilder.
And I don't imagine that this is going to be the only Faxon firearm that we build out. You guys actually do a number of different firearms, not only from the Ion, but you all have some pistols as well. You've got some 9mm subguns as well. I mean, you guys are really growing in kind of what you've done. So it's not just barrels that you all have done. You all are actually assembling a whole firearm.
That is a big part of it, and it's something I know that Bob and Barry, our founders, take a lot of pride in. And we have great people that work here. We have smart people that work here. Guys like Mark, fill this floor and engineering and stuff too. So it's a good place to be, and we're excited to grow with brands like yours and be able to do these are heart projects that you guys are working on. For everybody who thinks that influencers are a certain type of people, that's not always the case. And so we've been fortunate to have both you and Cameron Cushman on last episode, both with really hard-hitting philanthropic stuff that the firearms industry is a way in to those things. So I think that is fantastic. So this week, if you want to catch all the links to everything that Baret mentioned today, make sure you go to faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 58. You could grab us wherever you get your podcasting materials. And then, are we giving anything away this week?
We are giving something away. Baret and I both love Caldwell. So we're going to do a little shout out to our Caldwell friends. I don't have one here, but they sent me a pair of their new Bluetooth muffs. So the Emax BT Pros. They're awesome, really good for the range. You can listen to your music. If you don't like the in-ear Bluetooth, these go over the ear. They're the traditional muffs, but they hook up to your music. So we're going to give away a pair of those from our friends at Caldwell.
Very good. So you can find that entry link there as well. Again, faxonfirearms.com/blog, and click on episode 58. And then hopefully by the time this guy posts, we'll have a special little Halloween themed thing going on.
We have a giveaway cooking. It's coming soon.
Yes, a little kickoff teaser for that. So make sure you're watching on social for it. So Baret, thank you so much for bringing you and your team in.
Thank you so much for just allowing me to talk, and I appreciate that. And thank you for the hospitality.
Of course. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.
Hi and welcome.
The Faxon blog and podcast.